Senate Democrats renewing their push to pass a border bill and are expected to put it on the floor again this week. They aren't very hopeful. Senator Dick Durbin said yesterday he doesn't know if there's enough support at this point. Along with immigration, abortion also a top issue for voters heading into the 2024 election. Joining us now is New Mexico Governor Lujan Grisham, whose state is directly affected by both of these issues as a border state that neighbors states that have really extreme abortion restrictions. I want to first start on the border, since the Senate is looking at trying to pass this. It doesn't look good. What are the main difficulties that you have experienced in your state?
Well, Sarah, first, thank you very much for having me on. And you're right. When the entire country says we're all border states, no. We are not all border states, and there is no question that there's tension in New Mexico's border. So two things. One, we rely on the bulk of our food and other agricultural products coming across legally and safely across the border. So when we make it political and we stop trucks, then that means that I don't have food for New Mexico residents in particularly rural communities. Dire consequences. Also, when we don't have enough personnel and we don't have enough security, absolutely, there are risks at the border. We need both. I need a common sense, smart border bill, and this bill, first one in a long time, has the support of the union, right? That is the membership of the Border Patrol. This has now become a really harsh political issue, and people get caught again and again in the crossfire. Shame on Republicans here, again.
Are you dissatisfied, though, with the way the Biden administration has dealt with this issue up until this point? And what are the conversations like between you and the president?
So I'm not disappointed. I'm frustrated. And I think he is incredibly frustrated as well. You know, I was the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus when I was in Congress for 3 terms. We had a border bill that was the same kind of aspect here. More security, more personnel, and changes to the system to ask for a visa on the front end and to deal with asylum on the back end. This is a country of immigrants. So here are my conversations. I trust that I have a president that is clear that we don't hate immigrants in this country, that we are a country built on immigration, that he's clear about the security risks and the threats at the border, and he's also clear that it's more than this country. I need help from the other countries, including Mexico. But he is hamstrung, and if you're not going to fund the personnel, you're not going to give us the security aspects, then it hamstrings states like mine. So having my National Guard, for example, they're involved in all the drug interdiction, so all the investigative work, but they can't be anywhere at the border. There's nothing for them to do. 2, there's real innovation in New Mexico. We're working on fentanyl detection in the air so that we can do airborne detection. You know what chills innovation and the ability to deploy that at the border? Having Republicans march to the orders of the candidate of chaos and say, don't pass the border bill. Now I'm not going to get that kind of innovation and support. And we desperately need it.
The states are having major issues on the border in many different kinds of ways. Governor, I want to move on to abortion rights. You are between Arizona and Texas. They have heavily restricted, almost abolished abortion in their states. How is your state affected by that? What are you seeing in New Mexico?
An influx. So women have no other choice but to travel to New Mexico. As a result, I funded another reproductive rights and abortion clinic in southern New Mexico, where we're seeing an influx of women coming from El Paso and their families.
So they're traveling from these states into New Mexico.
And a shout out to Governor Katie Hobbs, right, making contraceptives more accessible in her state. Shout out to Arizona, who's clear about a ballot initiative, and the legislature who's doing something about the court action having a nearly total ban on abortion. But women are coming to a state. That means that our women don't have as much access. It means that we are trying to figure out a way to support all families. It means they're coming with more serious medical conditions because they can't get there in time. It should show the rest of the country when you've got dozens of women in court. You've got women who have nearly lost their lives, or we may not even know have lost their lives. And we're not focused on maternal health in this country. This is a disaster, and he said he was going to do it. the former president, and he's going to keep doing it. He's bowing to extremists that are rolling back constitutional protections and rights for women and their families. And it's outrageous. And contraceptives, I think, are next.
You think that they'll start going after contraceptives?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the fights with IVF and related, and good for Biden for making sure that we can now get over-the-counter access to contraceptives.
There's been a lot of scrambling on the part of Republicans when it comes to IVF, people trying to roll back some of that because they are concerned and they want it to be able to be available.
Because they're not thoughtful about this. This isn't policy, this is politics. And when women's lives are in the balance, it was a clear, clear view for the first time for a lot of Republican politicians who had to face the reality that they were harming their own constituents because they didn't take that into consideration. And voters should remember that at the ballot box.
Governor, thank you for coming here to New York to be on set with us. We really appreciate it. A great conversation.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, Kate.